not going to sing tonight because I have a cold and I sound horrible. So I'm just going to say hi to everyone tonight. So I see Paula from Wisconsin. I've got to say hi to you. It's 60 degrees in Kansas. Yeah, I'm in Florida now. But I've got a cold, in case you can't tell, or something. I don't know what it is. Mary from Buffalo, New York. Mary, how nice to see a Buffalonian. Excuse me. Hello from Kansas. Yay. Hello, my friends. It's so great to see everyone. It's Monday night. And this is what we do on Monday nights. We meet here, right? So for those of you who don't know me and are confused because I'm not singing, because how could I possibly sing with a voice like this? My name is Joette Calabrese. And this is what I do. Monday night, I meet you at 8 o'clock. Oh, how nice to see you, Diane. Someone else from Buffalo. For those of you who already know me, welcome, my friends. So I don't have that much energy tonight because I've got this little thing that's going on. And actually, it's kind of perfect. The last time I was thinking about it, and I mentioned it to Perry just this morning. This morning, I really didn't feel well. My throat was burning and very painful, and my chest was painful, and it was coughing, and it hurt every time I coughed. And I'll tell you what I took. I'll go through all of that. But I was remarking to him that the last time I got sick was in January 2020. So that's what, 5 years, about 5 years ago. And so I don't get sick very often, which is, of course, a wonderful thing. And I really, if I got sick every few months, I would find it to be a true burden. But I really don't, because I've also changed my thinking, and I want to share that with you tonight. It's really perfect because tonight I was going to talk about excessive worry about illness and how it's our worst enemy. Instead of resisting and saying, oh no, I'm sick, I'm leaning into it because I think of it as an opportunity to get rid of stuff. I mean, I've been blowing my nose all day long and coughing, and there's mucus coming up from my chest and my lung and my throat. And it doesn't feel comfortable, but it was pretty painful this morning. It was a little painful this morning. I can't complain. It really was not as painful as, say, childbirth. I mean, we gotta give ourselves some credit for that childbirth thing. But I'm going to lean into it, and I've been doing that for some time now, and I try to teach others to do the same. Because illness is a part of wellness. It's a part of being human. It's a part of living on this earth. And instead of fighting it and worrying, because that's what happens if we fight too much, then we begin to worry and freak. Oh no, what if it's this? What if it's that? What if I have this forever? Well, I've told the story in the past, but when I was giving birth to our first son, it was a very long labor. I was into 2 days. I was going into 2 days. And I was in labor for so long, because I didn't know homeopathy at the time, because if I had known, my friends, I would have used, you guys know, those of you who have taken my feminopathy course, you know, I would have taken a medicine that begins with a C. Tell me, I'd love to hear how everybody knows these things. It just really, it's heartening to hear that you know what to do. But had I taken that remedy that begins with a C, I would have been, bam, and the baby would have been there in very short order. Excuse me. But I didn't know that. And so it was going on and on. Simicifuga is one of them. Yes. I really actually, thank you, Carrie. I actually like caulifilum. Simicifuga would have been a good one too. But I think of that more secondary. I think of caulifilum first. Melissa, Laura, you guys have so got it. Mary Jo, beautiful. Love it. So it was going on and on and on. And I turned to my husband while I was in labor and I said, well, I guess this is just the way it's going to be. I'm going to be like this the rest of my life. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, well, it just feels like this is never going to end. He said, in no time, you're going through transition right now. In no time, the baby's going to be here. It's going to be all over with. And do you believe it? I lost track of what I was doing. I forgot I was giving birth to a baby. I forgot that on the other side of it, I was going to have a baby and it was going to be over with. I mean, that's the way the human brain can work sometimes. And it's particularly so for my sex, women. We get like this. We get crazy. I hope I don't get all feminists all worked up, because I'm just going to point this out to you, my friends. I'm not a feminist. So I just hope I don't get you too upset. But I think women have a tendency to over-emote. And so, let's get back to this. I'm not worried about this. Could it go into pneumonia? Of course it could. Could I get killed by walking down the street? Of course. There's so many things that can happen, but most things don't happen. And instead, what we have is just what we're dealing with right then and there. And Dr. Prasanta Banerjee, and I've told this story so many times, but it's so worth repeating, said, teach your people, your students, your clients, to, excuse me, sounds horrible, doesn't it? To take their illness in their stride. Yes, take it in your stride. It's no big deal. It's part of being human. And a lot of times, on the other side of the illness, whether it's acute like this will be over with in a few days, or it's a chronic, like what I used to have, severe allergies and food intolerances and chemical sensitivities and all that garbage, or it's arthritis, or it's anxiety attack, whatever it is, we will gain by it. We will gain by our suffering. Look at the people around you, my friends, who don't suffer, who have never suffered, who live a charmed life. In many ways, they don't have the depth and the breadth. It's that we go through suffering in order to understand the beauty on the other side. And it will never be perfect. Just know that too. It will never be perfect. So what I've done today is I took it very easy, and yesterday too, took it very easy. And I made my illness as comfortable as I could. So there is such a thing as being comfortably uncomfortable. There's such a thing as making an illness comfortable enough so that you can actually even not only lean into it, but even kind of enjoy it a little bit. I was alone for a good part of the day after a very intense week last week where I was with people all week long, and I loved it, but I also needed that downtime. I listened to some podcasts, I slept, I sat in the sun for a little while, I drank a lot of bone stock, I had water with salt and some vinegar, raw vinegar in it. And so I actually kind of enjoyed my time. And that's what I want you to do. Because when we worry, that is now often the disease. That becomes the sorrow. That becomes the suffering. And all the other stuff is kind of left behind. We're kind of dragging it along. So I know I've said this before, but it's worth repeating. When my children were young and they would get sick, and they would, just before they got sick, they were frustrated with something. And I've used the same story over and over again, but bear with me, my friends. My son would not be able to ride his bike. I can't ride my bike. I don't want training wheels. I can't do it. I want to ride my two-wheeler. I can't ride my bike. I want to, and I just can't get the balance. Then he would get sick shortly after, within, days, maybe a week. And he would get sick. And then when it was over with, I never gave him drugs, over the counter or otherwise. For my first son, I barely gave him homeopathy because I really didn't know much. I mostly used just garlic. And I gave him some essential oils. I did a little of that and some herbs, that kind of thing. But on the other side of that illness, when it was all over with and his energy was restored, guess what he was capable of doing? Hopping right on that bike and was able to ride it all around the backyard perfectly. Perfectly. I mean, perfectly. It was astounding. I would have to actually call out to my parents, my husband, look at what he's doing. He couldn't do this last week. Or I can't tie my shoe. Or I can't read this sentence. I can't read sentences. I can read one word. I just can't read. I don't know how to read. Or I don't know. Excuse me. I can't cut. I've got the scissors, but I can't cut with paper with my scissors. On the other side of illness, guess what? Capable. We need to go through these things so that on the other side we have growth. And it's not just for children that we see this, we see it for adults as well. I don't know if I'll have an awakening of some sort by the end of the week or so. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I'll be watching for it. But maybe nothing will come of it, or maybe it'll be so minor that I won't even notice it, or maybe it won't happen at all. But my friends, the whole point is that it's acceptable that I'm sick. So it's kind of watchful and waiting and letting life just be. So I've got some notes here I really wanted to share with you. Let me go through some of them. Yeah, well, one of the things is somebody asked me today, did you have a fever? And I said, no, I didn't. I don't think I had a fever. But it doesn't really matter, because if I had a fever, that would actually probably be kind of a good thing, because fevers are good. They're curative. Fever in a child is curative. If we suppress illness with drugs of commerce, what are drugs of commerce? Anything you get at the drugstore, my friends. Anything that's prescribed to you is a drug of commerce. Anything that we take when we're not well should be from the kitchen or outside in the sunshine, walking barefoot on the grass, drinking water with good salt in it. Drugs of commerce are what stifle the body's ability to make the corrections that are needed. So fever is not the problem, it's the solution. And just because you're uncomfortable or your child is uncomfortable doesn't mean you have to correct that. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It really is okay. Yes. What we're doing, if we use drugs, is we kick the can down the road. And so the reason I think this way is that I've come to this over the years, that nature is really rather perfect. Nature is God's creation. And man is God's greatest creation in the likeness of him. See, this is what happens when I get sick. I start getting philosophical. So anything that distorts or degrades the human, in my feeling is that it's a sin. We should not be distorting. We should not be injecting for the sake of beauty. We should not be injecting here for the potential that something could come along. We should not be those are all distortions. And it doesn't mean that we're foolish about it. If you get hit by a Zamboni, as I always say, and you're under the Zamboni and your arm is across the ice rink, then of course you're going to be taken to the hospital and have your arm stitched back onto your torso, and you're going to need drugs. Save it for then, my friends. Save it for then. But really, there's nothing lacking, because the body's always looking for homeostasis. It's looking to make the correction. That's why we get a fever. It cooks off. It kills, or perhaps, I don't know, it feels to me like it cooks it off, whatever it is. There's nothing superfluous. There's nothing lacking. We've got all we need. We have 5 fingers. They can pick up a mug. We have a voice that can speak. And if we lean into the beauty and the depth and breadth of being human, including all of its foibles, all of our foibles, I think we gain. And especially if we recognize the magnificence of the human body. So when you see that your child is sick, your husband, your elderly mother, we don't want to quickly get them comfortable at any cost. No, we stop. Take a deep breath. Watch what's going on. Observe. Use symptoms to determine a homeopathic medicine. But even that, my friends, don't necessarily even rush to a homeopathic medicine. Give it a little chance to really kind of ripen and see where you are at that moment in time. Now, I'll tell you yesterday, for a couple days, I was taking Nux Vomica. Nux Vomica is a great remedy for me because I probably overwork. And I love to work, so it's not a problem for me. So I took Nux Vomica, and it seemed to keep it at bay for a few days. And it was just, I felt a little off, but it wasn't a big deal. And then yesterday or the day before, I think it was, I took Aconitum 200 with Bryonia 30. That's the Banerjee protocol, Aconitum 200 mixed with Bryonia 30 for a forthcoming cold or chest cough or something like that. And that with Nux Vomica, and I seemed to be, right as rain for a while. But then yesterday my throat started to hurt. Felt very raw. And that's when I took, let's see if anybody knows. I had a choice between two remedies I was thinking of taking last night and this morning. And I chose one because I don't use that remedy very often. And I kind of want to see what other good might come from it. Because as you know, these medicines are not for one thing and one thing only. What would I use for my throat being very painful and sore, and my voice is off too? We got a few medicines here. Belladonna's one, Heparsil. I thought about Heparsil. I didn't think of Belladonna. Mercurius, thank you. That's what I took. Mercurius Sol. That's what I took. I thought of Heparsil. And Drosera's not a bad idea either. You've all got some very good ideas here. And when we're not feeling well, our brains turn to mush. Mine kind of turned to mush. Merc Bell, that's another good. Phytolacca's another good one too. But I ended up taking Mercurius Sol, Merc Sol 30. I took a dose this morning, and then I took a dose maybe around 11, and then maybe around 3. And then I did something that I have never taught anyone to do, because I don't even know that this is going to act, and if it does, I'll share it with you. But just about 5 minutes ago, just before I came out and met you here, I took Arnica 30. Excuse me. Now, I find that Arnica 30 is one of those medicines that really, it brings me back round. It gives me some energy, and that was really what was going on. I mean, the cough. The cough doesn't hurt so much anymore. It sounds bad. It sounds worse than it is. But Arnica helps me a great deal when I'm overworked, overwhelmed, kind of cooked in a way. And I also felt, in spite of all the sleeping I did today and resting I did yesterday, I felt a little achy. Now, I considered Rhus-Tox, because Rhus-Tox is a great remedy, my friends, for colds and flus that are accompanied by achiness. There are others too, but I took Arnica. And I think it might be actually doing some good work right now. Because right now, I'm enjoying being with you, and I'm comfortably sick. I want you to remember that phrase. There is such a thing. Lean into being comfortably sick. It's allowed. It's acceptable. Because if we're not comfortable with sickness, we lose our wits. We lose our ability to think. And because then the emotion of fear and anxiety, trepidation, worry takes over. And that is exactly what we do not want. So most illnesses are not dangerous. I don't know if you've noticed. People get sick, and then they get well. And they get sick, and they get well. And how about kids? Think about it. Ear infection, gone. Urinary tract infection, okay, now that's gone. Okay, conjunctivitis, okay, now that's gone. Okay, we could keep going with this. They come and they go. Now, what if we did nothing? Absolutely nothing. It's unlikely that it would turn dangerous. It really is. What homeopathy does is it often, when it's an acute condition, shortens it. And maybe it makes it a little bit, a little more comfortable too. But the danger in life, especially for children, is generally not illness. It's accidents. Children, serious conditions, serious issues come from drowning, fires, falling, sharp knives, a burn. Those are the dangers in a child's life. getting a cold, getting an ear infection, strep throat. Oh, God forbid it's strep. My friends, we don't live in a world that is that's surrounded by filth. We have good water. Yes, it might have chemicals in it, but I know you. I know you people. I see you here. I see you, my friends. You're making sure your water is clean. As long as we have clean water and a clean home and decent food and fresh air. It's not like it was in London in 1830. It's not like it was in New York, Manhattan, when everybody was coming in from Europe, when my grandparents were coming and everybody was getting tuberculosis in 1910. Why? Because they didn't have fresh air. Everybody was getting sick. They didn't have fresh air. They were poorly nourished. They didn't have good water. Nothing was right. Their environment was a mess. But our environment is really pretty good. Yes, I know about all the other stuff we have to think about. But generally speaking, my friends, if you are anything like me, you've made sure that your family is getting organic as much as you can get. Pasture raised, pure water, whole real salt, sunshine, no sunscreen. You know all of this stuff. So the diseases of old are not diseases that we need to be concerned about. I have some notes here. I said the intelligence of living well. And it really isn't all that much about education. It's really, well, now it seems like it's more about education. But my grandmothers, both of them immigrants from Sicily, both grandmothers, both grandfathers, didn't speak a word of English. Knew. How did they know? How did they know that when their children, their large families, one grandmother had 14 children. She actually birthed 17 and had 14. They knew. They home birthed. My other grandmother had 6 children. Home birth. My parents were born at home. There was no formula. My grandmothers nursed them. The babies were born in the bed, in the bedroom. It's so beautiful. And if the babies were sick, my grandmother would direct one of the older children to go out in the backyard and pick the dandelions. Or get the cardoons and start making some juices and some liquors from that. And I don't mean alcoholic liquor. I mean the juice from it. She gave them chicken soup made from bones. That's what they did. And so that's what I want you to think. I want you to think about how it really is not as scary as we think it is. It really is. There's an order to this design. I just don't want to miss any of my notes here. And homeopathy is right there for us. So even if we don't have the wherewithal to do what I've just said to you, we still have homeopathy. And it's hard science. It's absolute hard, data-driven science. I know that's not what Wikipedia says. I recognize that. But I think we've all recognized, I think for a long time, people have recognized that these mainstream places are not going to give homeopathy any credit because we are the competition. We're not a very big competition. We're really small. But we're the pharmaceutical industry's competition. We always have been. There was a time when homeopathy was number one in this country. There was a time. But it's God's medicine. It's not patented. These medicines are not patented. No one owns this. This is our Seneca album. This is Kelk Carb. Our Seneca album comes from arsenic. Made, diluted and succussed and diluted and succussed. So it's been potentized. This one is 200 CK. 200 times to the 100th power. This is Kelk Carb, made from the inside of an oyster shell. You can't own that. And so because the pharmaceutical industry can't own it, they can't patent it. And if they can't patent it, they can't add dyes and fillers. All it is the inside of an oyster shell that's been scraped, ground down, alcohol added. This is all done in a homeopathic pharmacy, regulated by the FDA. Not that that holds great, great, I don't know, what would I say, ability. But that ground down, added to alcohol, and then held in that for a certain amount of time in that alcohol, and then diluted. 1 m, 1,000 times. Beautiful. Here's another remedy. What else do I have here? Aconitum, 200C. Aconitum, very, very toxic plant in its original form. By the way, if anyone owns Aconitum nipalis in mother tincture, throw it out. And I'm serious about that. Throw it out. Don't have it in your home. Do not own it. It's very toxic in its gross form. But when it's diluted 200 times to the 100th power, it becomes a medicine of great measure. And what this does, this God's medicine, it saturates our life with meaning. Why would that be? How could a medicine do that? How could it saturate us with meaning? Because when we can help someone, a dog, a neighbor, our husband, our children, our grandchildren, our elderly parents, friend, when we can help someone, it adds value to life. It adds meaning. And so I love this medicine because, not only because of what it's able to do, but I love, I love being astonished. I want to get turned on. It's so intellectually delicious. I want to be astonished by something. I want to be astonished by great music. I want to be astonished by fabulous food. I want to be astonished by the joy I get from being with my grandchild. I want to be astonished by being with my family. I want to be astonished by my medicine. I want that. We all crave that. We desire as humans. And we can then put the excessive worry and the fear aside. And then we can become, right? We can center ourselves and not allow our emotions to get in the way when we see someone suffering or when we are personally suffering. Instead, we can find the beauty and the goodness in life, the joy. Because, my friends, this is a duty. If you know this, you have a duty. I have a duty. We have a duty to take care of our families. It's our job. If you don't have a family or your family's grown or whatever your circumstance, you have a duty once you know this homeopathy to help somebody. The little bird on the lawn that just broke its leg. You have a duty to take care of that creature because you know the medicine. And if you don't know the medicine, then you have a duty to learn as many as you can, my friends. We're not here that long. Duty, honor, responsibility, bravery. These are all important words that we have to think about and embody ourselves as women and men. There are not as many men here, but women of the household. Dignity, courage, sense of purpose. We need to be women and men of dignity. And that is why it's important to hold yourself solid, not be afraid. Don't put your fears into someone else. Don't project. Calm down and then carefully, thoughtfully think through what medicine you need to help this person, this dog, this bird. And so tonight, my friends, I am not going to meet with my Mighty members separately because I have another class coming up. I'm working with an antibiotic class that Kate and Michelle have put together, so I'll be seeing them. And because I'm not feeling so hot, I want to save my voice as much as I possibly can, so I'm not going to go any longer. But I'm going to leave you with that thought. Honor, responsibility, duty. And with that, I say God bless you all. Take care.